Today, we're ranking Quentin Tarantino films.
And I'm going to upset a lot of people with my list. Hello! Welcome back to another video. 'Tis I, Bryan.
Welcome back, and it is also I, Kristen.
Why did you say welcome back also?
I don't know. Let's do that again.
Son of a bitch! Take two! Welcome back to another video. It's Fuck! Welcome back to another video. It's me, Bryan.
And Kristen.
That's right. And we're here today. As you heard in the beginning, we're going to be ranking Quentin Tarantino's films. I'll sit here and shake my finger all fucking day. What else do we do? So we both made our own respective lists, and I am quite positive, I would put money on it, that my list is going to upset a lot of people. What about you?
I think mine will definitely upset some people. I think the majority of Quentin Tarantino fans... Wow. I think the majority of Tarantino fans will probably understand my choices, but when we start to really get into the meat of it, they're not gonna like it.
What instead of talking about how shitty our lists are, why don't we
just get into it?
Yeah, okay, so here's what we're gonna do. This is the plan, okay? We got, as you can see on the screen right now, we've got numbers 1 through 11, okay? We decided to omit my best friend's birthday, his first short film, because Kristen hasn't seen it. Oh, true Tarantino film. Sorry.
Oh, I have to out me. Okay.
We also omitted the 4 Rooms sequence that he did for the movie, because it's not technically a full movie. Also, she hasn't seen it. Now, and we also, instead of just doing... now, you're wondering why it's 11, because he hasn't made 11 films. So, the 9 that he has made... But then also we're including, what is it? I can't count. 11. 9/11. We're including the 2 movies that he wrote. True Romance, From Dusk Till Dawn.
Which I think is a great way to change up the list, because there's a lot of people out there that have done their ranking of Quentin Tarantino films. So we decided to change it up and include things that he should definitely receive credit for, and we just want to rope them all in together.
Everybody got it? We all caught up?
Good, great, grand, wonderful.
So we're going to start off going through his filmography from Reservoir Dogs all the way up to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And we're going to put them on our list respectively wherever we decide to put them. His first feature film. Where would you put that on the list?
It's my number 6.
Oh! I mean, that's halfway down the list. That's respectable, but also a little disheartening. I put it at number 4.
Okay, so when I was first compiling my list, it actually was a lot lower. But I was like, you know what? We're incorporating these 2 other films that he wrote. I thought it does deserve to be much higher than that. So I opted to put it at number 6.
Oh, good. I'm so glad that it made it higher to number 6. This is a fantastic piece of work, okay? The man.
I want to put a disclaimer in here. Hello, microphone. The way I have my movies ranked does not mean that they are bad movies and that I don't like them. It is
we love all of them.
We love all of them. I love every single one of them. It's just some I favor more than others. They are my middle child movies that, my first child I love more than the other ones.
What a just right out the gate with this fucking thing. There's not a lot of directors out there that could come out of the gate swinging with the first film that good.
That is true. I will admit that.
Not even Spielberg. I mean, Duel is great, but it's a TV movie, for God's sake. It's not even in the I guess his first feature film, what was that? I guess that would have been Jaws, wouldn't it? No, Sugarland Express. That was in
Sugarland.
That's not, I mean, that's a great, I love it, but that's not, we're talking about fucking Tarantino. Reservoir Dogs, fantastic film. I love every just every second of this movie, it is perfection almost. It's so well done. And this is why this guy blew up, because of this movie. Not Pulp Fiction, it was this movie. People saw this movie and said, wow, I've never seen anything like that before. And then, okay, he came along and did Pulp Fiction and then fucking changed the game forever. Blah, 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 whatever.
The point being is that it's really impressive for a filmmaker, for this to be their first film and to be a hit is extremely impressive. And it shows right off the bat what kind of filmmaker he is. He is amazing at storytelling and dialogue. And that first scene, it's the first scene, right? Where they're at the diner. And just everyone...
That scene alone makes the movie more iconic than...
Honestly, that's my favorite part of the whole movie. I know there's a lot of great scenes in it, but that diner scene is what I like about it the most. But because it's the one scene out of this entire movie that I like that's why it's landed at my number 6, because that's my only favorite part.
Another incredibly impressive thing for a debut film, independent film, mind you, from a first-time director, the names attached to this film. Granted, maybe at the time they weren't as big as they are now, but Harvey Keitel was. He was a somebody at that point. He'd been a somebody for a very long time. He starred also, by the way, I want to throw it out there, Harvey Keitel was also in Martin Scorsese's debut feature film. I forgot who played Joe. Jesus Christ, I'm such a piece of shit. I forgot his name. Put it up on the screen, editor. Who's me? Thanks, me, in the future. That guy. He's been in stuff before that I can't remember off the top of my head. Thanks, more information that I'll know later on when I do it myself. The one that everybody loves, which I believe that's part of your name.
It is. And if anyone did not get that yet, I think if there's people coming over from our TikToks and you follow me, I think most people have gotten that. I still get comments sometimes that are like, oh, I just got that. And actually, when I first started out on TikTok, I was doing a lot of Pulp Fiction scenes. So I was like, you know what? This is the Pulp Fiction page, I guess. This is the Tarantino page.
So where do you have it on your list?
It's my number 2.
Number 2. All right, respectable. This is where I was talking about I'm going to catch all the heat. And this is where people are going to start giving me so many stink eyes because I put Pulp Fiction at number 11. Let me explain.
Justify yourself right now.
Hold on. All right, listen. Everybody calm down. You, stop typing your mean comment. You, shut your face and hold on. Don't call your dad. Listen. Here's the thing. First of all, I understand the cultural significance of the film. I understand the impact that it had on movies at the time. I get it. Trust me, I get it. And I still like it. It's a great movie. I love it. I understand. I'm tired of it. It's a good movie. I'm not going to say it's overrated because I think it's correctly rated. People think it's as good as it is because it is. When it comes to all of his other work, this should be coming from a true Tarantino fan. If you have watched his movies as much as I have and soaked up his work as much as I have, somebody out there should understand where I'm coming from, that there is so much more that this man has given us that may be better than Pulp Fiction. But I understand the cultural significance of the film. I get it. I get what it did.
Pulp Fiction, for me, was the first movie that I had experience of getting into Quentin Tarantino movies. This is the first movie of his I ever watched. So back in the day when Blockbuster and Hollywood Video was still around, that was one of the movies that I rented with a friend of mine way back when. And I fell in love with it. It was supremely weird. It was something I had never seen before or had ever just experienced. And again, another pretty heavy dialogue movie. I don't think it's as heavy as Reservoir. Jackrabbit Slims was just so iconic, and the conversation that they have at the table.
Which, great. I'm glad that Tarantino can write dialogue, but Jesus Christ. They had like 5 separate conversations in that one scene. Like, I'm not alone, right? Please tell me someone else agrees with me that it's not that great. I get that it wasn't like the mixing up of the the timelines and stuff, and cutting from this scene to this, and then back to the same character. I get revolutionary at the time. I understand. Pulp Fiction did it first. It did it the best. I get it. I'm just tired of talking about it.
I kind of agree with you in the sense that there's other movies of his that I definitely like better than Pulp Fiction. But I feel like I would be a traitor to myself if I did not put this movie up higher, which is why it got the number 2 slot. I just think...
and it'll be funny when we reveal our number 1 spot, because it's the same movie for us. Spoiler. And then that's when people are going to be like, are you fucking kidding me? You put Pulp Fiction below this? Where did you put that on the list, Kristen? Where'd you put it on the list? Say it!
It's my number 11.
Jesus Christ, it's really that low? God damn, dude. I put Jackie Brown at number 6. You thought it was higher.
I did think it was higher. That's surprising. Almost all of the reasons that he said for Pulp Fiction is how I feel about Jackie Brown. Except for it being, it's definitely underrated. People don't talk about Jackie Brown as much.
They don't. They don't.
And it might be just my experience of going through his films that I for a while I didn't know that was a Quentin Tarantino movie until I kind of revisited it a couple times, and I was like, oh, this is iconic. It does have some great scenes, but I was like, I don't feel like it has the same kind of impact in it being as memorable as Pulp Fiction or Reservoir Dogs. Bryan, because he's a filmmaker, understands the impact of that movie, that there's a lot of backstory to that of why it should be higher. So I can respect and understand that. For me, as a fan of his films, it's lower. It's that low because I just wasn't as entertained. I like some scenes in it, but it just felt, a lot of parts felt like it was slow.
This one I agree. I can see why you would say Pulp Fiction seems blasphemous that I would put it at the bottom. The reason why I think that this is his most important film is because of Pulp Fiction. Everybody loved Pulp Fiction, and it wasn't like Pulp Fiction wasn't not a hit when it first came out and it became later on home video. Everybody loved Pulp. No, like Pulp Fiction, when it came out, people fucking ate it up. They loved it. It was a hit from the start, and it hasn't stopped being a hit since. So, the fact that Quentin Tarantino made his magnum opus, I would assume people think Pulp Fiction is his magnum opus, right? I mean, that's... The fact that he made his magnum opus with only his second film, where do you go from there? You can't outdo yourself. It's impossible. So what does he do? He decides to make a blaxploitation film, and it fucking works! He doesn't get laughed off the stage. People still admire him. It works. It's his most important film because it kept his career alive after Pulp Fiction. Because you can't go... And a lot of people wouldn't agree that Jackie Brown isn't exactly a blaxploitation film, but it's 100% heavily inspired by blaxploitation films. I mean, the font, for God's sake, is literally stolen from Foxy Brown, also starring Pam Grier. This movie is... I'm going to argue more culturally significant than Pulp Fiction.
But I think the other part that, turned me off a little bit about it, which is similar in a couple of his movies where he's... And I don't know if you'll agree with me about this, Bryan, but there's a couple things that he kind of tries to relive or kind of repeat, but make it slightly different. And the whole thing with Jackie getting the same suit in the mall that is the exact same suit that Mia Wallace wears in Pulp Fiction was like, that's what you did in the other movie. Like, he's just trying to, it's on a different person. It's the same suit. It's a black suit.
Oh no, the black suit. I will say, and again, the reason that this movie is so important technically is because, Tarantino grew up around watching blaxploitation films in the theater when he was a kid. Like, because of the, place that he lived, they showed a lot of those movies in the theater. So, he knew this culture, and I think it paid off. I think it's a great movie. I think it feels like a Tarantino film. And plus, also, I don't want to play the trump card or anything, but, it's got Robert De Niro in it, so it's better automatically. I'm just saying. Even though he's a dick in the movie. Where did you put it on the list, Kristen?
It's my number 4.
Shocking. You know where you know where I put it? 10.
Oh my God. Okay, so in the same vein of Bryan saying, after Pulp Fiction, where do you go from that and you get Jackie Brown? To me, where do you go from Pulp Fiction from there? Kill fucking Bill. Uma Thurman returns. This is where he really starts to blossom. This movie, besides for Pulp Fiction being a little bit more pop culture, or like subculture, I guess. This isn't a movie where, with Pulp Fiction or Reservoir Dogs is like a niche movie that he did. This is a movie that was so successful, everyone fucking loved. Now, if we're going to talk about which part we like better, that's a tough one. There's a lot of things I like from both of them, but I think
really not
part
tough.
2
Oh,
I like better.
Sweet Jesus Christ. The reason I put it at number 10 is because of part 2. I don't like part 2. I think
at all.
And if I'm ranking all of his films, I wouldn't even put Pulp Fiction at the end. I'd put Kill Bill Volume 2. If we were splitting them up, Volume 2 would be the on the bottom. I really don't like it.
Wow.
So
Why?
Like you said, if Jackie Brown hadn't happened, but it did, where would you go after Pulp Fiction? And the fact that he kept, unbelievably, he upped himself. I guess you'd say he upped himself with Jackie Brown doing a blaxploitation film, which again, that's a niche subject for anybody. Like, that's not something that appeals to everybody, but somehow Tarantino made it Tarantino. Where do you go from there? Make a fucking samurai film? That's insane that you would think that there would be a wide audience for that. That's another niche subject, but somehow, again, because he's Tarantino at this point, he's firmly cemented in his image and his style at this point, that people know who he is and what to expect from his movies. He was able to get away with this movie. And I'll tell you right now, Volume 1 is pretty good. I enjoy it. Volume 2, not so much. It's so much more inferior than the first one. I don't understand why. It's less actiony. It's less. It felt like he put all of the excitement and action and what you wanted to see in Volume 1. Then Volume 2 is like, well, I have all this, the rest of the shit left over, but I want to tell this complete story, so I guess we'll just put the rest in this part 2 and then wrap it up real quick. Like, that's what it felt like to me. Volume 1 was excitement and enjoyment and everything you wanted from a Kill Bill movie. Volume 2 was like the leftovers.
There's just things about part 2 that I like better than part 1. Just a little bit more. I like the whole superhero comparison that he makes to Beatrix being like, she's a superhero. And talking about Superman and Spider-Man. I love that. I love the whole thing of trying to go kill Bud, and he in turn puts her in a fucking coffin, and she has this flashback memory of her training. And here she is, alive. Bud gives her this chance to suffer and suffocate in this coffin, and little does he know how she was going to get through that, and she did. I think that is amazing. That's an amazing scene. It's worth mentioning.
That scene, yes, is good. I like that in part 2, but the rest of part 2 just seems like, again, leftovers. One thing I will say good about the Kill Bill films, and really any Tarantino film, his ability, not only is he really good at writing dialogue, I mean, that's what he's really known for, is dialogue, but he's also incredible at reviving random music that no one remembers and making it iconic. And the music from Kill Bill, like, what is that? Oh, Jesus Christ. That, you know what I'm talking about. The song when O-Ren Ishii's walking down the hallway with her fucking posse, slow motion.
Yeah.
That song, I forgot what it was called. It has a name, but that song. Can we play a clip of that? Would that be just for a second?
We can do that. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. This was part of a collaboration he did with Robert Rodriguez called Grindhouse. Planet Terror being Robert Rodriguez's movie. Also pretty good. But Death Proof, where would you put that on the list, Kristen?
It's my number 3.
What the fuck? What do you mean number 3? Are you shitting me? It's number 1 for me. I thought we agreed. Our whole entire friendship started on the fact that we both loved Death Proof, and you put it at number 3. What the fuck?
Because I had to count Pulp Fiction. You know, I
Number 3! Oh my god. Okay, well, fine.
okay.
The greatest thing he's ever made? No. But my favorite. My favorite of his. This is my favorite movie of his. It's such a this is the movie this is where people are going to start yelling at me. Now, if they haven't started yelling at me for putting Pulp Fiction at the bottom of the list, and really this is where Pulp Fiction I guess should be on the list. Probably swap them out. Death Proof should be on the bottom, but I say nay. Death Proof is just something special. But then you got Jackie Brown's blaxploitation film, Kill Bill's a samurai film. Death Proof is a love letter, if you will, to the car chase films of the 60s and 70s, like Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry, Vanishing Point, which both of those movies are literally named in the movie.
It is my top 3. It is on my top 3 of Quentin's movies. I love it for the dialogue, period. Yes, it has that balance of the action in there. I love the car chase scenes and the crash scenes. But if you want to talk about something reminiscent to the Reservoir Dogs diner conversation scene, Bryan has heard me talk about this a million times, that my favorite scene in the entire movie is when all the girls, the second group of girls, are having breakfast and the camera does this 360 around the entire table. And they're having this conversation, and it is so good. It's so involved and revealing. Quentin tells you exactly what this movie is about based off of this conversation that they're having. And not only that, what makes it even more genius is that when the camera does this 360 rotation in the background, if you're not paying attention, you don't see him. Kurt Russell, Stuntman Mike, is in the back. He's stalking them right there. It's beautiful. The music.
Of course, the music. Another reason why I very much enjoy this film as much as I do is that it's a direct opposite of those exact 70s car chase films that he's ripping up, well, not ripping off, but paying homage to in this movie. Because those movies, when you think of the 70s car chase films, it's all about fucking dudes. It's just a group of dudes. This guy's chasing another guy. It's all guys. It's dudes. This movie, women. Very women empowering.
All women.
Where'd you put this one on the list? I can guarantee I know where it is, but let's hear it.
It's my number 1.
Of course. I put it at number 2 because I was on the understanding that we said Death Proof was our favorite, but we recognize simultaneously that Inglourious Basterds is his best film. Because it is.
Okay, can we swap it mid-video?
Motherfuck, no, we can't. No, you've dug your grave and you have to sit in it now. Sit in it. Not even lay in it. God damn it. All right, so yes.
Well, I'm going to break
Basterds.
out of it like Beatrice Kiddo, so hey.
Wow, what a reference and that was so... So Inglourious Basterds is 100%, I think, personally, and maybe also you do too, that Inglourious Basterds is Tarantino's magnum opus. Pulp Fiction, great film, but he has never hit the amount of quality in a film than he did with Inglourious Basterds. This is the peak of his career. Anywhere he goes from here may not be up, it'll be, straight line. He'll stay at the top right there, but he's not. I don't think he can get any better than Inglourious Basterds.
Abso-fucking-lutely. So
I'm just saying.
You take his entire filmography, every movie he has done, he has found a way to perfect it, to play with dialogue, to play with characters and writing characters. And Inglourious Basterds has such a great flow to it, cinematography-wise, beautifully filmed. Every single character, even if they were small, you still cared and were very interested in. But we all know our favorite character was Hans Landa. He is such a masterpiece of a character. I loved watching him on every scene. I saw this movie at the theaters when it was released, and I'm so glad I had that experience because it was phenomenal. Quentin himself has said it is his masterpiece and that he didn't want to make the movie if we can't make the perfect Landa. He was on the literal last week of pushing the timeline of I have to find the perfect Londa or we don't do this movie. And on that final week, they do another casting call and he finds Christoph Waltz. And the rest is history, and we have Inglourious Bastards.
You know what I find interesting about why people probably wouldn't say Inglourious Bastards is his best film? And I could be wrong. I'm not speaking for anyone, but I think the majority of people wouldn't say it's his best film. Mostly because, for the most part, it's a foreign film. People don't like to sit there and read subtitles. Americans. I'm calling out Americans. We are lazy. We don't like to involve too much of ourselves in watching movies, which I think is a little fucked up. But anyway, again, I'm not calling anyone out specifically. I'm just saying I think that might be the reason why people don't like it as much. But that is not an excuse. It is a fucking masterpiece.
And me, like, I love language. I love linguistics. It does not bother me to watch a foreign film and to read subtitles because, I mean, maybe on the first viewing, you know, you have to do that multitasking of reading and watching. But I love that aspect of it, that he's incorporating that language in there. And that is another genius reason why that opening scene of this movie is so good, because he's a German speaking French, then switches to English, which is, for several audiences, he's talking to the French guy, but then he's also making a point to speak in French because he knows that that Jewish family is in this house. He's harboring them. He kind of wants them to know that he's there, and that if he's going to continue this investigation, he has to switch to English. He goes to this guy because he's heard a rumor, that he knows how to speak English. So in his conversation says, I've heard you speak English. If you don't mind, I'd like to speak to English because, my French is so bad. It wouldn't serve me if I continue to speak in French. Bullshit. He is the Nazi Sherlock, proven again by the whole pipe scene. The French guy pulls out his pipe first. He's like, do you mind if I smoke my pipe? He's like, oh, no, please, this is your house. Make yourself comfortable, smoke.
May I smoke my pipe as well?
Pulls out this pipe, and it's fucking huge. And it's like he's saying there, like, yeah, you gonna be comfortable? You gonna pull your dick out?
The moment I realized that this film is an absolute fucking masterpiece, because at the time when I watched it for the first time, I was just like, again, this is another random ass path that Tarantino has decided to go down. He's made a blaxploitation film, he's made a gangster film, he's made a samurai film. Why not make a World War II film? What else can you do? So I was thinking, like, what's he gonna do with World War II? This is gonna suck, because this is gonna be Tarantino in World War II, with people having weird ass conversations about, like, what, radio programs? What are you gonna talk about? The moment that I realized that this movie was a fucking masterpiece was the scene in the underground bar when they're having, I mean, it's such a fucking long scene, Jesus, it goes on forever. But the moment he gets noticed by the German guy when he says, dry glasses. And that shot over Fassbender's shoulder when he does this, the camera's looking directly at the Nazi, who looks directly at his fingers, and that's when he notices this man is not a German. I was like, I noticed that the first time I watched the movie, and I was like, this is brilliant! Let's now talk about True Romance. Let's talk about True Romance. Jesus Christ, dude! True Romance! I can't say it. I literally can't say the word. What? Holy shit. Okay. I'm putting that in there. I don't give a fuck. It's twice, man. It's twice. Jesus Christ. Where do you have that on the list?
It's my number 5.
Respectable. I have it at number 8.
Okay. I can understand. So I didn't know for a long time that Quentin had anything to do with this movie. No idea. I just knew. I even remember hearing about this movie in high school and, like, talking to a guy, and I was like, what is your favorite movie? And he said True Romance. And I was like, I've never heard of this film. And then later went on to discover it and finally watched it. And I was like,
son of a bitch! I got water on me!
Christian Slater, surprise uncredited actor Val Kilmer, or is he credited? I think he is credited.
Val Kilmer is in this movie? I don't remember this movie at all.
He plays Elvis.
Oh my God, you're right.
Gary Oldman, who I had an obsession with this man because of Bram Stoker's Dracula, and it was so weird to see him play like this gangster pimp, but he was great. And so I love this movie so much that I actually got a tattoo inspired by this movie. If you'll remember, for those of you who have seen it, where Alabama writes on a napkin, "You're so cool." And it's said several times throughout the movie. In the ending monologue, she says it and then also writes it on a napkin. And so I got "You're so cool" as a tattoo. And Brian's going to put up a picture of the tattoo so you can see it.
I don't remember anything from this movie. I know it's. I remember liking it. I've only seen it, I think, twice. This is literally the one movie of his that I've seen the least.
In fact, there was we do movie nights all the time, and I said I want to watch True Romance, and the man fell asleep, and we had to stop. That's how much he did not care for the movie.
Okay, because it was fucking like 2 a.m, okay? And we got like 40 minutes into the movie. I had been doing shit all day. She falls asleep all the time when we watch movies. Yeah, I don't really remember anything from this movie. It's the least, the one I've seen the least of his filmography. I remember it being good. I like it very much. I like the Patricia Arquette is...
She's so adorable. She's so freaking cute.
From Dusk Till Dawn, which a lot of people think that he directed this movie, and he did not. He just wrote it and starred in it. It's a Robert Rodriguez film. Let me clear that up right now. So this movie, where did you put this on your list?
You go first. Where's it on your list, Brian?
I put it at number 5.
Oh, kind of high up.
Yeah, because it's amazing. It's mostly where'd you put it?
It's my number 9.
Jesus Christ. We're so drastically different other than the first 2 movies.
Told you we were going to piss some people off.
It's ridiculous. Okay, so the reason that From Dusk Till Dawn is number 5 for me is mostly for the first half of the film. When it comes to horror movies, I am more of a werewolf guy than I am a vampire guy. Don't really care for vampires. Whatever. Some stuff is cool. This one is one of the ones I like. However, the first half of this movie is pure fucking magic. Everything that happens before the vampires are revealed, everything that happens in this movie with the 2 brothers, the Gecko brothers, in the beginning, the whole first half of this film is fucking phenomenal. And I think that has a lot to do with Robert Rodriguez and the way he filmed it and made it, because it's his movie.
What I love is that it turns into a completely different movie. Like, you had no idea it's going to turn into this. Juliette Lewis, whatever her character's name is that, they're in this Winnebago that they're traveling in the family's Winnebago, and she talks so slow. Like, what's in Mexico? And Quentin Tarantino, whatever his character's name is,
Richie.
Mexicans.
It's also one of the movies that has one of the most shocking twists ever, I think, in cinema history, because of the vampire thing. Because this movie literally has nothing to do with... There's no sign of anything horror related in this movie at all, until all of a sudden, Salma Hayek just fucking vampire. I'm telling you, the first half of this movie is actually, I'm going to say it out loud, and I shouldn't, during this video talking about Quentin Tarantino's directed works for the most part. I think that the first half of From Dusk Till Dawn may be better than half of Tarantino's films. Just the first half of the movie. It's so fucking good, bro. The gas station scene with John Hawkes alone is incredible, where they're arguing with him back and forth, and then they have the shootout thing, and he's back there fucking reloading the gun and stuff, and he's like, Richie was like, "I told you," he said, "help us," and then John Hawkes has the best line in the entire movie, where he shouts, "I never said help us!" That's fucking amazing.
That's a bold statement. I
It
don't
is-
agree with that.
It's bold. I will agree it's bold. But, also, it's still technically him anyway. Yeah, it's directed by Robert Rodriguez, but it's still Tarantino, technically. Even though that goes against everything I just said earlier when I said that this movie is mostly Robert Rodriguez. Where would you put that on the list?
So Django Unchained is my number 7.
I have it at number 9.
Oh, interesting.
So Django Unchained, this is his first Western. He attempted, and lo and behold, fantastic film. However, his second attempt at a Western, I think personally, is better. So that's why Django's a little lower on the list for me. But Jamie Foxx, fantastic as always. Christoph Waltz never disappoints. Also, can I point out a cameo in this movie of somebody that I've met in this movie? Jesus is in this movie. Did anyone else see Jesus in this movie? Did you see Jesus in the movie?
God, I remember you fucking sending this to me. Go ahead.
I met Jesus. I'm talking about Ted Neely. Jesus Christ Superstar. Ted Neely is in Django Unchained.
So for me, Django Unchained it is a phenomenal movie. Jamie Foxx, Christoph Waltz coming back. He's like, Quentin was like, I gotta put him in another one of my movies. And this time comes back as a good guy, a very good guy. Again, genius dialogue. I love it so much. And then bringing Leonardo DiCaprio in this, who has...
I love that I brushed over him and didn't mention him at all.
Yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio, hello. So many scenes. I mean, iconically, the one we think of the most is when they're sitting at dinner and breaks the glass and actually cuts his hand during this scene. So that is all real. Improvs the blood smearing on what's-her-face's face,
Kerry
which, oh my
Washington.
God, Kerry Washington, thank you.
I forgot.
Just amazing. Just another example of Leo's work.
What was her name in the movie? Was it Bathsheba? No, that's a fucking horror
No,
movie.
Bromhilda.
Brunhilde! Yes!
Bromhilda.
Where's Bathsheba from? Oh, that's The Conjuring. Jesus, I'm way off. Never mind.
Oh my God. So, yeah, no. It's just not my favorite, but I do love it. There was a point, for some reason, I was watching 2 of these movies back to back. Like, I kept watching them over and over again, and it was Django Unchained and Hateful Eight. But yeah, we'll get to Hateful Eight later.
I will say, he did he did this after Inglourious Bastards, and we both agree that Inglourious Bastards is the height of his career. Cinematography, everything about that film is just the cinematography in Inglourious Bastards is really what makes it as good as it is. And I think he carried over that cinematography into Django, because there's some incredible imagery in this film, like when he's the scene where he goes to the plantation and hunt down the 3 brothers. But the one shot, the other guy getting away on the horse in the distance, where he shoots him with the rifle, and then there's that incredibly beautiful spray of blood on the white flowers. Oh my God, are you kidding me? I think that's one of the main things that keeps Django on top, is the cinematography. Where'd you put this on your list?
It's my number 10.
I'm sorry. You said you said that you didn't like Django as much as the other. Oh no, that was me. Whatever. Okay. I put it at number 3 because it is
What?
the main reason I put it at number 3 is because my 2 favorite genres of film are horror and Western. So there's that. Quentin Tarantino making a Western. I'm going to love it. And again, like I said, Django was his first, and it's fantastic, but he unbelievably upped the game with The Hateful Eight. Netflix, a while ago, came out with this 4-part version of the movie that was the complete version of the movie. So that had extra stuff put in it, like each episode. I mean, it was listed as a limited series on Netflix, but each episode was like an hour and a half long. So this movie was longer than it should have been, but it had each episode was one part of the movie, and you get to see those stories separately by themselves, as opposed to how it is presented in the actual movie. And watching it that way, I'm not gonna lie, kind of better, because there's way more character development. There's way more time for things. and the suspense is built in a different way, and it feels better and cool. That's why it's my number 3. It's a fantastic film. There's so many good performances in this movie, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, or don't, because I believe strongly that Jennifer Jason Leigh stole this film. I'm doing the Neil deGrasse Tyson meme.
You know, I think I would agree with you. It's tied for me between her and Kurt Russell.
Jennifer Jason Leigh as Daisy Domergue in this movie, I think maybe the best performance from any Tarantino film. That's a big statement. Big statement. But I'm telling you, she fucking killed it. She smashed it like the guitar. There's a little tidbit about it. It was an actual, a real antique or something. A real guitar that belonged to somebody or something.
They borrowed from a museum. They rented it from a museum.
Yeah, it was a prop guitar to use just for the playing, and they were going to have a different guitar for the smashing, but in one take, this man just got overcome with his acting emotions and grabbed the guitar, the prop guitar, from her and fucking smashed it.
And you can hear her screaming like,
whoa,
no!
Whoa,
she was like, no, don't!
This movie is fantastic. Everybody in this movie, the performances left and right in this movie, and again, cinematography came over from Django, from Inglourious Bastards. He's learned something. Somewhere in between Death Proof and Inglourious Bastards, this man learned stuff, new things about how to use a camera. And he applied it to Inglourious Bastards and has not lost his touch yet.
Hateful Eight is a fantastic movie. It's another, he just keeps going with it. Every single movie has amazing dialogue. It's very dialogue heavy. But that's one of the things I love about it. I agree with Bryan. I think it really is between Kurt Russell and Jennifer Jason Leigh. I love that Samuel L. Jackson comes back for this and that Zoe Bell makes another appearance. But that's also one of the things that I can just feel that feels too much that he's trying to replicate what he did with Inglourious Bastards. Like, this worked for him, this twist plot, this grand scheme, it feels a little, I don't know, just too much for me. The thing is, too, that people complain about Quentin's movies that they're very violent. It seems like gratuitous violence.
This movie is horribly over-violent.
It's very violent, and that has never bothered me. I don't know what kind of person that this says about me as a person, but I like violence in movies. I think it's awesome. For some reason, in this one, it was drawing the line a little too much for me. Okay. I get it, okay, in this storytelling. But when Samuel L. Jackson is talking to the retired colonel, he's a colonel, right? And he tells a story about his son and about how he made him walk through the snow naked and made him suck his dick. I was like, this is fucking gross. This is too much. And that's not even, like, it's mentally violent. And that's the part that just bothers me. Like, I could see him trying to, like, he did it to get revenge back on the colonel and then the kid, the guy, his son. But it's like, that's one of the biggest scenes that sticks out to me is him telling this story. And I'm like, I'm uncomfortable.
I think this movie is kind of like, if I'm wrong, I don't know, but to me it feels like Tarantino poking around in Agatha Christie territory. I do agree that the violence, while I love violence in movies, my entire personality back in the day when I was getting into movies was I loved horror movies. That was what got me into watching more and more movies. But I specifically went out of my way, like a psychopath, to find the most gratuitously violent films that I could, because I just wanted to see.
So that's why he loves it. It's perfect.
I wanted to see that stuff. And so when you see this kind of, and now I'm desensitized to all this shit. Like, I've seen so much that nothing bothers me.
I do have a limit.
She gets freaked out and disgusted by stuff like Martyrs, and I'm just like, ha ha ha, that movie's funny. But so yeah, the violence in The Hateful Eight is, I can see how it's over the top. Like when they kill fucking Senior Bob with the 2 handguns, and it just, like, that's, all right, come on. I don't know, but I also like the dialogue in this movie is really Tarantino heavy, but there's not a lot of joking going on for the most part. One of them that really sticks out because it's not a very joke heavy is when Samuel L. Jackson, you just can't help it. Whenever the guy opens his mouth and says something, it's just either going to be funny or badass. One of the two. It doesn't matter. Whatever he says. When they're talking about who poisoned the coffee, Joe Gage was like, all right, it was me. I poisoned the coffee. And then Chris, who's played by Walton Goggins, sorry. Just one of my favorite lines in the movie. He bursts out, I fucking knew it! He was
probably my favorite character, actually. I loved his character. Loved him.
He was so annoying in that movie for me. I didn't like him at all, but he had one of the funniest lines in this. It was just so good.
I think the part that, again, this is a mental game with this, that you have to understand this perspective, which is hard because you're going off of the word of one man, Kurt Russell, about just how terrible Daisy Domergue is. And he's being so violent. He punches her any chance he gets, and she just fucking takes it. So it's like, your initial reaction is like, oh my God, this man who's much stronger than her is beating the shit out of a woman. But it's like, you have to understand that he knows something about her that we don't, and that his job is a bounty hunter is to take her and bring her in dead or alive, but he gets more money if he brings her in alive. That's the part you have to accept and understand, that we haven't seen everything, that she's a bad person and deserves every punch he gives her.
This is it. Our list is complete. Where would you put this? Well, I guess we have only one choice left. We're pretty close on that one. I think we agree on this one.
Yeah.
This movie is interesting for several reasons. One, this is not the first time that Tarantino has played with historical accuracy, and made it justifiable in the best way possible. Because in Inglourious Bastards, he destroys Hitler with a fucking MP44. Eli Roth, the Bear Jew, gets his revenge in the most beautiful way. That's the kind of gratuitous violence that you don't mind when you see that kind of shit happen.
Yes.
When it comes to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, we're talking about the Manson family. And we all know how that ended for several of these people. And it doesn't end like that in this movie. And that's just fucking beautiful. It ends horribly for the killers, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, it's such a great ending. Great ending. In retrospect, really looking back over this list, I do feel bad putting it so low at number 8. It's not at the bottom of the list, but it's towards it. I just remember that when the trailer for this movie came out, no one really had any idea what the plot of this was going to be around. He was very vague with it. And then all I knew was that it had Quentin's name on it, and I wanted to see it. And my ass was in that seat at the theaters watching it. And as soon as that scene where the camera turns to the street named Cielo Drive, I was like, oh, I know exactly what this movie's going to be about. And lo and behold, that's what it was about, the Manson family and the killing of Sharon Tate.
Fun fact, the guy who played Charlie in this movie, Damon Harriman, he actually went on to play Charles Manson again in I'm going to say it, a better version of Charles Manson in the show Mindhunters, season 2. Same guy, 2 performances,
Fuck,
same character.
I didn't know that was the same guy.
Yeah, he did a way better job in Mindhunters, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah,
he did. He was playing a younger Charlie in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So in reality, there was 3 girls and Tex, but they only had 2 girls in this one. This movie was all around very good. Everything about it. Leonardo DiCaprio, again, kills it. And Brad Pitt, I'm going to say Brad Pitt stole the show from this one, I think. The time period, not really, I'm not super into the 60s, but that's where he grew up in the 60s, Tarantino. So he knows, he told the story about the driving in the Cadillac, down the boardwalk or whatever when they were filming with Sharon in the car. He used to do that all the time when he was a kid and listen to the radio and the music and just having nostalgic memories of that, which, cool. I don't really care for the 60s that much. I'm more of a 70s guy, but
some of my favorite scenes is obviously when Leo has to be on set for this Western, and he's having this conversation with this little girl actor that he's about to do the scene with, and she's very mature and adult and takes her scene and character and preparation very seriously. And he's like having doubts about himself, about his career. Is he still any good? And she has this profound conversation with him, and he takes it in, and then they go to do the scene, and then they cut, and the little girl goes up to him and says, "That was the best acting I've ever seen in my entire life." Where he goes into his trailer and freaks out, like, with himself. So he's like, "Oh my God, I was so terrible. You can't get your fucking lines down, you fucking alcoholic." And fucking stuttering. And I love that part so much. I relate to that because, you know, as an actor, we go through those moments where you're like, what the hell is wrong with me? I just embarrassed myself. You have all these other people that know what their lines are, and the director's waiting for you to deliver your lines and do your part. And you just have those like self-conscious moments. You're like, oh, I didn't deliver, and what the hell is wrong with me? I gotta get these scenes down. I love it. I love that part so much. That's actually was on my list of scenes that I wanted to recreate, by the way, which is going to be a challenge.
Did you know, fun fact, this has nothing to do with Tarantino, but I just wanted to point this out since we're talking about the Manson family. There is a movie about the Manson family, or Sharon Tate and her story, and Hilary Duff plays Sharon Tate.
Oh, God. Okay.
It's really not
For anyone that doesn't
movie.
know, because he hasn't talked about this, he has an obsession with Hilary Duff.
Thank you. But yeah, no, it's not a great movie. She did fine. She did fine, but the movie overall, script-wise, something was terrible. Absolutely terrible.
A side note that I wanted to say about this is that I forget what her name was. You'll probably know, but the girl, one of the killers that breaks into the house where Brad Pitt's character and Leo is, and Brad is high off his ass, and the girl that goes fucking crazy, like, she's done several movies like this where she plays some crazy killer. And when I saw her in Scream 4, I was like, she's gonna be the one. And she goes out the same way! Burning! Fucking burning! It's fantastic.
So I think that does it. Those are our lists, our respective lists. Let us know if you agree with any
Probably
of this.
don't.
Just if you agree with any of this debauchery, let us know in the comments. Yeah, you probably won't. Some of this, who knows? There could be. I feel
We
like
may have turned people away with this video.
Yeah, as soon as I said Pulp Fiction is 11, they're probably like, fuck these people.
We're sorry. We're going to have better videos, but this is just our opinions. And again, I'm going to state it again. We're not saying that any of these movies that are lower on the list are bad.
No, they're all great.
They're
fantastic.
all great. They're just some we like more better than others because of certain reasons.
Right. We've seen his movies so many times that we feel it necessary and possible to rank these in a certain way that is possible. Because if you're just a casual viewer of his films and you've only seen his films like once or twice, you would be scared to be like, well, Pulp Fiction should be number one, right? Because everybody loves that one. That should be the best of the best of the best, right?
Yeah.
I put it at the end of the fucking list. Are you kidding me? I'm a psychopath. Look at me. So, how do you want to end this?
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, that'll be our sign off. All right, thanks for watching. Get the fuck out of here!